What's up, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the Lock-In Tournament and the LCS waiting room, where we kick things off to join in on the conversations that are happening at home and throughout the community. That said, up until about 5 seconds before we went live, and as you can see, there's a laptop
right
sitting here on the coffee table.
Oh no, you pointed it out.
All three of these clowns, I could not divorce them from the LEC game that's currently happening right now. Vitality, Fnatic, a wild one, especially when you consider just the Vitality roster moves made and wondering how Alphari and Perks, for example, would do moving back to Europe.
It's the waiting room for sure.
Yep.
We are technically waiting for LCS to start, but LEC has had a long day, and it's a banger game.
Yeah,
Gotta
we
bear
already
that.
had a few banger games. I mean, this one, they showed the gold graph just recently, and it was just like a waterfall.
Yeah.
So it's nice to keep track of.
A few banger games, a few banger casts. Cadril over there having to
True.
rip
Yeah.
off a solo
That was
cast for like
great.
10, 15 minutes was
He's
one of the more
so
impressive
good.
things I've seen.
The meta is now casting from home. You
in
have
some time.
better,
It's
headset
true.
connection,
How far we've
apparently.
come through all the remote that
Yeah.
now it's almost more effective to cast from home.
Don't give them ideas. Don't do that.
Anyway, we're back for 2022. You know who else is back? It's Jat. And we're not the only ones who are excited about that, my friend. Plenty of people at home, along with the announcement of you returning to the broadcast. You can see here incredible support throughout the community. I love the GIF in the middle.
Oh, that's peak content. Cover it up. For a
It's
second, I
so
thought that
good.
was literally your face there. I was like, Dad, I didn't know you just took your shirt off. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's me being like, ah!
Good times. How does it feel? How did it feel to be back out there casting again yesterday?
I felt happy about it. Like, I felt pretty smooth. I mean, I've cast so many times with Freak. It kind of fell back into being a little bit natural, which I was happy with. There was a few moments where I was caught off guard by, like, the speed of the game. I was making a point when a fight happens, but that just comes with more reps. But, yeah, it felt really nice to be back.
Awesome.
we
Well,
go.
again, we're very happy to have you. It does feel like you never left, though, in some senses. You've always kind of been within the orbit, right, of
Yeah, it's not
esports
like I
and the
left the
scene.
LCS.
Yeah.
Right? The biggest break I actually took was after the split, right? So I think from week 4 of summer until now, I've pretty much been on a break aside from like the one analyst desk that I did in LCS summer. So it's the longest break I've had away from League ever.
Well, it feels like you haven't left. It also feels like you haven't really aged today, my friend. And in that, I did kind of want to play a fun little game before we get into all the LCS business. The game is called What Year Is That? So what we did.
You're wearing this
So
Is
this today? I don't even know
Oh
if it
my
is.
God.
Okay, so this is the point. I've
Did
never
they
seen
do
any of
that
these
on
photos, but
purpose?
what we did is we
Okay.
pulled a bunch of photos from Jat, and these can come from at any time within your life. It's, publicly available photos. Our goal here as a group is to try and guess what year the photo was taken in.
So no shower pic?
based on how Jat looks, and so it is same suit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go though. I'm gonna say that this is like a 20.
I'm saying 2017.
Well, actually, you know what? I
I
think
was-
this is
I'm
spring
going
2020.
2018.
I'm going with this as being spring 2020.
Do I get a vote?
You get,
Yeah,
you
Okay,
do.
you guys
Yeah,
can
yeah.
go first. Yeah.
It's hilarious if you're wrong. So 2017.
I'm
for me.
definitely going to be wrong at a lot of them.
What do you think?
I said 2018. You said
2018.
2020.
I think 2020 spring.
Okay.
I'll go 2020 because it looks like my hair was pretty long.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're locking it in.
Sure.
Jat and I are correct. It is spring
Yes!
2020. So right before your departure.
Right before lockdown.
Okay.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Okay.
Wow.
Let's hit us with the next photo. Jat number 2. What year is Jat?
So you're still
This
rocking
is
purple.
this is earlier days.
You're still rocking
I have a
purple.
good. I have a good guess.
It's a less fitted suit, which
Yeah.
tells me it's in the earlier days of League of Legends.
Is this your definition of shorter hair? Because you said that the last one was long. I'm seeing literally the exact same hair.
I know. I think I know this one.
Okay.
So
I'm
I'll
going
let you guys-
2015.
2015. Emily, what are you thinking?
2016.
There's context clues that I can do for this.
So,
no,
is it,
God.
I'm thinking it's the hands are making me
The,
think about
the
the claws.
monocolor shirt
Yeah.
was very like 2013, 2014.
I was thinking 2014.
Oh.
But then,
Earlier.
the hair going the jump
Yeah.
rather than to the side, that was like a 2015 change. This is pre 2015 for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go 2014.
I'm gonna go 2013
I'm gonna go 2014.
Do you have that continuity
Well-
with your shirt for
well-
me? I mean, your hair,
So it's-
that you would just
hold
know
on,
the
hold on.
year? What?
So 2013, you said what?
2014.
2014, you said,
I said 2016.
and I said 2014.
Yeah.
Can I get an
Related.
official word on that again? 2014. Yeah, let's go Reds. Woo!
Boom!
I don't know how I'm actually doing well at this. All right, Jat number 3. What year is Jat? Oh, we're into the vest stages.
I'm going back
And
to
the hair
2017.
to the side.
No, I'm gonna jump up to 2016 on this one.
Okay.
I'm going 2016.
I'm gonna stick with 2016.
2016?
I just 2017. I've realized you're just a vampire.
This is weird.
Yeah.
It is 2022.
It is
Like
2022.
that's wild.
You have not aged.
The 2014 was like 8 years ago.
Yeah. What do you think this is?
It's got to be 2015 or 2016. I'll go
It is.
2015 to be different.
True. All Jets look alike.
2016.
Hey, I got one.
Wow.
I
Jat's
have
got
3 for
all
3
of
right
them.
now. Okay, there
That's
is one
nuts.
final photo. What year is Jat?
Just yesterday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was taken earlier this morning.
Shaven.
That was like in the story meeting
Yep.
or during tech
Understood.
first,
Yep.
something like that.
He's the guy that ages backwards.
I'm going.
Benjamin
Let's go. 1991.
Yellow's too vibrant
If
a
that
color.
baby's supposed to be 1, it was 88.
It was 88.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Well,
But I
Hey,
had
we're
blonde
definitely-
hair as a child.
same.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, that was a fun game.
Yeah.
Again, welcome back. Now let's get into some actual LCS business. Today we get our first look at Group B, and I think the biggest storyline coming into today, and honestly in a number of ways coming into this season, is of course the return of Bjergsen going over to TL. We're going to get to see him back out on the Rift here today. I'm
go.
super pumped for it, but I want to know where all of you stand. We had Team Liquid themselves saying a new chapter. The legacy continued. Welcome Bjergsen to Team Liquid.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember as far back as like 2015, 2016, we would always have the conversation before the offseason of like, what if Bjergsen leaves TSM? Right? Like, what is his value going to be on the free market? I can't wait to see him in a different environment, but he was so loyal to that org for so long, it just never happened. And now it's an even different dynamic because he's taken a year off, and you wonder how long it's going to take him to reach back to form, or if he's even going to get to form.
Yep.
And so I had something that I did. I want to ask you guys this question because I
Okay.
know you follow the NBA.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Bjergsen is Michael Jordan of the LCS. Jordan retired twice, right? The first time he went to play baseball for a year and came back.
Yep.
Then they lost in the playoffs after a short season. Then he won 3 more titles. Then he retired for 3 years and came back to the Wizards
Yes.
and was like
Yeah.
kind of
And
average.
it was so weird. Yeah.
So is this going to be Bulls 2 Bjergsen or Wizards Bjergsen?
It's Bulls 2 Bjergsen. It's not going to be the Wizards Bjergsen.
Then he's still really good. Like he
That's
won
still good.
MVPs after he came back.
True. So I think he is definitely going to be
I think I'll get there.
a top 3 player for me. Like, I would even guarantee it.
Where are you on this?
I mean, I think we've already talked about this, how kind of open the mid pool is right now. So I know having spoken to him, he feels like he's nowhere close to
Yeah.
where he wants to be, but that was before the whole Korean boot camp thing as well. So, I mean, I know for a fact that he's really, obviously this sounds so stupid to say because it's obvious, but he's really dedicated to coming back, right? Like he's really, really dedicated, and I know he had told his team previously, like, I'm not expecting to come back and be the top mid. So thank you for being patient with me and accepting that that's going to be a fact until I can get there. But I think he doesn't doubt that he can get there. And I've seen like the Twitter reactions. His fans definitely don't doubt
Yeah.
that he can get there.
And I think game sense and just general game knowledge will get you a long way. So, like, I think he has insane game sense. That's always been, like, his strength every year. That has given him, like, that all-pro vote constantly. He's only lost, like, he only hasn't been in one all-pro, in one split, right? And for me, game sense will carry him to the point where he does feel confident in matchup knowledge, right? So I think he'll get there to be the top player by the end of the split. But I think right now, like, top 3, I think is very safe for me.
And this is where I want to pull in kind of a second aspect to the conversation, which is once we come back on camera, people will see this graphic here. This is the top 10 players by games played all time in the LCS. Obviously, Bjergsen finds himself on that list in number 3. But what was interesting for me was yesterday, kind of keying off of the Darshan interview, where he talked about, you know, the value or the lessons learned as a veteran. How many of these players still persist and are on teams and how many are not? And
Yeah.
we are getting to a place where we almost have more of these players, you know, off teams. The fact that Jensen doesn't have a team, right? We could talk about that
That's a little, yeah.
for days. But it is very intriguing to see which of these players are still around, still have, you know, kind of the legs to do a lot of work and be effective players. And then the ones who you're like, Sneaky's on there, hasn't played for a while, but man, he still has so many games, things like that.
5 of the top 7 have spent a significant amount of time on TL, which is cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bjergsen hasn't yet, but he's on TL now.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think in general, age has been an overrated thing of like how old you are. I know
Yeah.
JJ is like 27, 28 now, and he's just as good as ever. I think he's been the best player in the league for a couple years now. Bjergsen's only 25. Like, I know I said age is overrated,
Oh my
but even if you thought age wasn't
Yeah,
overrated,
he's still
Yeah.
got
he's still young. I mean, TL went with a younger mid laner. He's 2 years younger than Jensen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In some ways. I think he has plenty left in the tank as long as his life is in a place where he can put time into league, which it is. I mean, he went to Korea to practice up.
Yeah.
To Emily's point, I just think it's not going to be like vintage Bjergsen right away. There's no way.
Yeah, even to expand on that, I think so many people, when they look at players like these, they think about them being at the top because, like, that's where they started, right? And that's not the case, especially with League of Legends as a game that changes every split, changes with a lot of patches where, you know, a lot of these players are where they are and continue to be on these teams because they learn and get better. Like, they know how to learn, they know how to train, they know how to, like, basically get the information that the teams, analysts, and coaches give them and, like, kind of work that into their game. So the longevity is there because, like, the best example is probably right now, of course, Reckless, who's on K Corp. So at Timely, not the case, but like when he was at Worlds with Fnatic, he was the best I've seen him in his career. And you get there by constantly working on your game and like just being open-minded. So that's the case for a lot of these players, and I'd say that's the case for Bjergsen.
And as we know, obviously stats, records, things like that made to be broken, right? So you look at this list of 10 players, and kind of the next piece I jump to is all of the young guns who I know are looking to knock names off this list, to have careers that are as long as some of the ones that we've seen, right? Fudge himself was very, very, very outspoken early on that one of his goals is to put Bjergsen back into retirement. So he wants Bjergsen to add as few games as possible to that number and climb up the leaderboard. Fudge himself may be looking to join that in a few years' time.
I love just the fact that Fudge has added the violence to the game, right? I love it when players go out there and just make a statement, right? It puts pressure on them a little bit to perform, of course. Like, that's always going to be the caveat to it because other players will be like, well, I don't want to put that much public pressure on myself. Like, I just want to play the game and be able to show it through my own play. I mean, he has that mentality, but he's willing to still talk shit, and I like that. That's what we need. We need more players doing that right now.
Well, also touching upon something that you said earlier with Bjergsen, I feel like Fudge has that too, right? Like, in terms of how we've seen him improve exponentially over a comparatively very short amount of times. And then talking about his transition to becoming a mid laner, that was one of the things we brought up, was just his general game sense and his ability to see the game and understand the game and learn it very quickly. So if all you have to do is learn matchups, that's theoretically, like, you're almost already there. So if all Bjergsen has to do in returning is relearn matchups,
Yeah.
you know.
There we go.
Yeah, the thing that I know we're talking about Bjergsen, but the thing that impresses me so far about Fudge is his ability to shake off criticism.
Yes.
I think that is something that is super pervasive in the league scene, and maybe, I mean, I want to say maybe, I think it does negatively impact the LCS. The amount of criticism the LCS gets actually has a way of lowering the level of the LCS. It's self-fulfilling in that way because every player is so plugged in to their own social medias or to Reddit, and the conversation around them actually brings down their self-confidence, which makes them play worse. And Fudge is kind of the opposite of that. Like, he got completely trashed on social media for all of Spring Split 2021 and was still able to improve, which is actually quite impressive based on the way the conversation had been going.
Well, hopefully he can trailblaze a little bit then in that regard, right? Be kind of the case study for other new or even older players to start to go, hey, actually, if I follow, you know, that kind of mentality, I can shrug off some of that criticism I've received and actually improve. You know, to that end, I think expectation plays a big part in this as well, though, right? At least on the personal level, but as well as on the team level. And while we continue that conversation around Bjergsen joining Team Liquid and what are the personal expectations for him as a mid laner, the expectations for this team feel like they're through the roof, right? Killgrave right here saying that they're so high for TL, we have to hope that they don't become the next G2. Look what happened to them. They got reckless with all that star power, and they weren't even able to win anything in 2021. And it's the super team conversation. And I know you love to watch
the super team conversation, mainly just because in every single region, I love tracking super teams because I love watching, again, like when I talked to Bjergsen, I talked to him about that idea that like if all veterans are coming in, they have a completely different way of playing the game, then how is that going to work out, right? And he was like, well, I actually don't think that's the case because I think the communication isn't, like people aren't that set in their ways. But I think the expectations for this team, and I know we talked about this yesterday, I don't know if you agree, Jet, like it's pretty much like win or bust given the talent they got for this roster. Or alternatively, Raz snuck in the second place, but then do well at Worlds. So like get to like semifinals at Worlds.
Yeah, I think championships are very important to Team Liquid.
Yes.
I unfortunately still have like an Easter egg item of the 5-star Team Liquid hoodie because they pre-shipped them in case we won summer. So they really want to add stars to that jersey, let me tell you. They won 4 in a row, and it's been a four-split drought.
Wow.
But Worlds is also incredibly important with the 4 years in a row of going 3-3 at Worlds. So I think the ultimate goal is going to be Worlds, but domestic success is not to be overstated. I mean, Santorin, I know personally he really wants to win another split because the last one he won was in 2015.
Yeah.
Like it was over 7 years ago, so you want to be able to find that hunger again. But I think they understand that LCS is not easy, right? I think there were too many teams in the past that overlooked LCS, and as soon as you do that, you don't win LCS anymore. So I do think the expectation is going to be to win, but I don't think it's going to be like, or bust. If they lose, they can still look towards Worlds.
And like kind of linking in the last conversation we just had about like drowning out the noise and how important it is, people are going to make harsh like criticisms instantly, right?
Yeah.
Week 1, week 2, oh, they just lost the game. Trash, right? Like, not gonna happen. But like, they're starting off in a place where they're not gonna have their players ready to play instantly, right?
Yeah.
And like, I know we'll talk about that later, but that's why it's super important to just think about the long goals, right? If you're thinking about that spring split championship, perfect, right? Don't care too much about the criticism that's gonna be coming into week 5.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if today Bjergsen goes down a couple CS in lane and people start flaming him on social media. Just cause, you know, why? Speaking of, though, another conversation, and we're going to pull a comment, I think, straight from Reddit on this one. It was Dirk08 commenting that basically the LCS is unironically mini Worlds this year when it comes to the makeup of different teams and the number of different regions, from which we've pulled our imports, and how different teams have kind of looked to pull from different specific regions to find that success. So TSM, you talk about looking for LPL talent, things like that. And then, so I don't know, it's kind of an interesting concept that we have now pulled so many different regional talents, and therefore I would assume strategic mindsets that I'm curious to see kind of what prevails.
So that was actually what I really wanted to comment on, because last year I actually thought strategic diversity in LCS was really cool. We had so many different teams that played in a variety of ways. And currently this meta that we're in right now in lock-in is rife for experimentation. We've seen so many different draft ideas and champion ideas and how people want to play, especially bot and top side with the recent TP changes. Do you want to go for a stronger like 2v2 laning thing? Do you still want to detach your support and focus more on having a volatile top side matchup? And I think with pulling all of these players from different regions for this year specifically, and having like almost like a set South Korean mindset team and a set Chinese mindset team that people are looking to be, I'm not saying they are at this moment, but looking to be in TSM from pulling from LPL and C9 from pulling from LCK. I'm very curious to see if that strategic diversity continues into this year. I'd really love to see it.
Yeah, and it helps. It helps a lot. I will always look back to like 2018 LPL where you had BLG, which had Kuro, like the slow, we only take 100% kind of decisions kind of team versus like just more hectic teams. And when you go into an international setting or when you go into a playoff best of 5, you're just better prepared for multiple identities, right? And I think that makes it so much easier. So and I see Dirk out there with the T1 flare. I'm sure he's a little bit more excited with Berserker coming on for Cloud9.
Yeah, he's a Cloud9. There has to be a Cloud9 fan there.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be fun to be able to see the mentality of, I would imagine C9 to be a more like play for scaling, right? Because that's always been what the mantra for a lot of the coaching staff for that team has kind of
freeze all of the waves.
Everything.
Every lane should be frozen at all moments for Cloud9.
Bank accounts frozen. Just like That's what I think is going to make a lot of these games higher quality, or at least the teams to think a little bit more. Because if you're just trapped in one mindset of like, this is how we got to play, then you're not going to be ready for when pressure comes, playoffs, international events.
The thing that I hope happens is that I hope it finds a way of elevating the region, because everyone in North America, like I think the quality of the North American orgs is generally very high, and the way that they're able to fundraise and the quality of free agents that they're able to sign. But what happened in the past, I think a little too much, is they were very much like mercenaries. Like, I am here to do a job, I'm getting paid this paycheck, and once it's done, like, who cares?
Yeah.
But there are some players, I know Bjergsen, when he came over, elevated the region.
Yeah.
I think CoreJJ is a player who elevates the region.
Absolutely.
More so, like, it's one thing to be really good on stage and win the LCS like Perks, but to also try really hard in solo queue, share your knowledge with the academy team, really try and build the region, which is something like Core has been
It's
doing.
even affecting the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we have a higher chance of affecting the ecosystem this year with the varying strategies we have from the different teams, e.g. with the two really young players, potentially motivating more solo queue players to try and get involved in amateur, because they can see there are places where that path can lead you to maybe even a chance at winning the LCS title. And then, from what I've heard, the Cloud9 infrastructure with the full competition for the spot, if we actually do see more variants in the roster over the year, that stuff, I think, more so than just helping individual teams get titles, might actually elevate the region, which is ultimately what we need.
Well, it's a day-by-day process, and it starts in the lock-in tournament. We kicked things off just yesterday. We're diving into day 2 today. It's Group B, our first look at them. We'll be right back to talk about Game 1 and preview the day. We'll see you in just a bit to kick off the LCS. Welcome back to the LCS Lock-In Tournament. It's day 2 of the group stages and our first look at Group B. We did a little bit of conversation around all things LCS, and now we're going to narrow in towards that first game of the day. But after a full day of good old-fashioned LCS competition just yesterday, we are getting back to it. We've got 100 Thieves and Cloud9 sitting up at the top of the table in Group A at 2-0. TSM Academy roster, that is, coming in and being able to steal a game, putting them smack dab in the middle at 1-1. But today, it will be that Group B. Kicking things off with Dignitas QNTMPAY up against Team Liquid, CLG Immortals Progressive to follow, and then the big one right there in the middle, Team Liquid against Evil Geniuses. I think that's where most people, Jad, have their sights set when it comes to game of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw everybody's predictions yesterday when we're talking about finals. Everyone thinks it's 100 Thieves versus either EG or TL, with more people going towards EG because TL has announced that they aren't able to play their entire intended roster due to CoreJJ's green card issues and him not counting as a resident. So that game 3 has a big circle on it to see who's going to win it.
True.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to note about today's games is that we have almost all entirely starting LCS players. There are only, like, at the top of the day, there are only 2 players that we know of that are going to be out, right?
Yeah.
And it's CoreJJ for TL and then River for Dignitas. So this is completely different than yesterday where we had a lot of academy lineups.
You're talking about it there. You see it on your screens right now. First game of the day does sport Team Liquid. We've talked already a bit about the return of Bjergsen. I think we should re-hit that, though, in the context of what we expect to see here in game number 1 of the day, Raz.
Yeah, I mean, the accomplishment list is long. 10 times All-Pro, multiple times MVP and champion. This man's pedigree is humongous, and the conversation we had earlier was that jersey he had has been TSM for so long, right, Chat? And so the fact that he's coming back and it's in a Team Liquid jersey, it's like that next step in his career, and you would love to see where it takes him.
So expectations, 3 solo kills,
Yep.
14 kills, at least
There
one of them a penta.
Setting the expectations low.
That's probably right where people expect. No, it's low expectations. It's the first game of lock-in. He was a coach for a year. Like, he definitely needs a little bit of time to get comfortable.
What I will say is it's probably one of the better metas for him to step back onto the Rift with, right? If he's
Corky
just play
Victor.
Corky Victor, yeah. Like, you know what? I've
Let's
got pretty high confidence levels in Bjergsen on those two champions. While he obviously has an insane pedigree, we've got to talk about this pedigree as well. Hansama, one of the big acquisitions for Team Liquid this year, coming over from the LEC.
Yeah, and I mean, the time that he had on Rogue was phenomenal because as a player throughout his career, I thought of him as a very flexible player, right? Great in team fighting, but I didn't really see too much in terms of laning phase. That would be like, he's laning phase dominant. But that was the case on Rogue, where I thought that they put a lot of resources into him. He performed consistently through lane, and then of course was still a team fight behemoth. So like bringing him onto Team Liquid, I feel like he still needs to have that identity to being like, hey, me and CoreJJ are gonna dominate lane.
Yeah, if he carries over that from Rogue, because Rogue like heavily were like pushing lanes, we're pushing forward onto the map. So Inspired can have like all of this jungle control. We'll talk about him later.
We will.
But and I think Hans coming over here with Core, I'm so excited for that 2v2.
I'm likewise very excited for that 2v2. Unfortunately, we won't get to see Core in just yet. We've got Ayla to kick things off here. Jat, I'm going to hand this one over to you.
I really like TLA's bottom lane, which is Ayla and Yan. I thought they had a spectacular 2021, and this guy in particular is who's starting game 1. He was the MVP of the OPL in Split 2, which is basically the winter split before he joined TL Academy. Last year, when TL was playing their summer split, right? 400 assists, which was tied for first in league, and more wars cleared per minute than any other support, as well as I think he really takes after CoreJJ. I know in the offseason last year, he did have a lot of options, but he came to TL, or us at the time, in part because CoreJJ was going to be so involved in his development. So they have a great relationship. Ayla has learned a bunch from CoreJJ. I think this guy has a great killer instinct and sense for the game. And I really hope that he can take good advantage of this opportunity and show people what he's made of, because I think he's an LCS level player.
For me, the biggest thing that jumped out at me of what you just said is killer instinct, because I think so much of what CoreJJ did afford for Team Liquid is that go button at times, that direction, right? Even if it isn't necessarily playing an engager, although many times it was, he seemed to be one of the driving and directing forces on the team. So Ayla is going to have to step up and provide some of that, I assume.
100%. I mean, I think he's a quick learner. The tradition, the TL tradition from supports of like during the off season, just having in-houses, right?
Yeah.
He brought that to Oceanic. He actually started Oceanic in-house tournaments, Ayla. And I remember when he first started out, like, I would say the criticism was like, oh, just knowing right times to engage. And I was like, wow, that's actually a strength that I saw in Academy.
Yeah.
So he's definitely strong. He's going to be going up against, Biofrost.
The return of Biofrost,
There
which I would love to talk about, and maybe we will be able to in the post game. But I want to talk about that other roster move that Emily kind of tipped her cap towards, which is we have XU in the jungle subbing in for River. Obviously, River is a player that I'm super excited to get a first look at when we have that opportunity. But today it'll be XU for Dignitas.
Yeah, so XU starting his LCS debut before he even starts his Academy debut from C9 Amateur. I think talking to people about him, they're like, he's a Graves player. He loves Graves, which hasn't been played a ton on 12-1 outside of, I think, one LPL game. However, I do think people were like, he's very raw, but he has a lot of potential. He is very, like, more of a farming jungler, and then it's just about lane, like jungle lane communication and knowing like gank timing and stuff like that.
Yeah, what a roller coaster of an offseason it's been for him, because for him, at the very beginning, he was looking forward to being on the scouting grounds, right?
Yep.
He was originally like got the notification that he was a part of it, but then there was a mishap where he was like, actually, no, you just missed out, but we can still have you like talk to teams, interview, just be around, so you couldn't play.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, maybe I'm not even gonna get an opportunity to be in Academy. Lo and behold, you're starting lock-ins.
He got bumped. Yeah, you're right. He got bumped out in the 51st position, right?
Yeah.
And from there to starting in the LCS on their first day in the lock-in
Go
tournament.
play against Santorum Bjergsen.
And go play against
Have fun.
Santorum and Bjergsen as the mid-jungle duo there. Less than a minute on the clock. I want to get some predictions in here for the first game of the day. So, Emily, I'm coming back to you first. Is it going to be Dignitas or is it going to be Team Liquid that walks away with it?
Team Liquid.
Team Liquid. Full confidence in Team Liquid there.
Yes.
Raz, what are you thinking?
Bio Daddy? Well, no, it's...
I was really kind of hoping you would go there for me. Well, given the fact that yesterday you had said you expect Team Liquid to be the team that meets 100 Thieves in the finals,
I figured I was going to predict that because no one else was going to predict
Yeah.
it, and it's a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, Team Liquid is the favorite for this game, so it's irresponsible not to say they'll win this one.
Irresponsible.
Yeah.
But that's where hot takes
Irresponsible
come from.
things can
Irresponsibility.
work,
Yeah.
but just not today.
Okay.
There you
go.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, there you have it. Team Liquid across the board. We'll see if Dignitas can throw us a curveball, though, in game number 1 of the day. That's enough out of us. We're heading out to the arena to get things underway. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello and welcome to the Caster Desk. I am Freak. That is Kobe.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's excited for this.
Yes.
The first game in 8 years where Bjergsen does not start for TSM, either
That's
as a
true.
player or a coach. 8 years.
That's a good long time, and I'm excited. To me, he is the king of the LCS. To me, he is the greatest LCS player of all time. I know there's other people in contention, but that is my vote. I've been on that train for a while, and I'm excited to see him back because he was playing Phil in solo queue, but not playing in scrims all of last year. So the question is, how good are his chops right now? You know, does he get back to the form he has been at before? Is he back to an MVP? Is he not? And he's up against Dignitas here, a squad that I think a lot of expectations coming in were quite low, especially here where they do have their primary jungler subbed out at the point in time. So, you know, the return of Biofrost, what's it going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it also goes a long way because we have the draft order of this tournament for Lock-in where the teams themselves get to choose who they think is scariest. And guess what? Dignitas was last pick.
Yep.
So voted by the teams as the least fearsome coming into this tournament. Let's see how it actually plays out on the Rift though, because they actually have a lot of, new conversions here on the side of Team Liquid as well.
You know what I enjoy, though, is the last time Bjergsen or Biofrost played on stage, if I recall correctly, was the 10-man sleep at Worlds. With Spica
All right,
over there.
anyways,
And
into the picks and bans.
The point is, right, they took their year-long hibernation. Bjergsen took his year coaching. Biofrost did not have a team all of 2021, and they're both back on stage against each other again.
Certainly are, and we're going to probably see some more targeted mid lane bans. Now, TF and LeBlanc have been some of the most banned champions across all professional leagues regardless, so this is not a shout out to Bjergsen or anything. These are very common blue side bans here, and what really is getting kind of left up now are the AD carries, because Caitlyn and Jinx and Aphelios have also been extremely high priority, with Caitlyn getting the majority of the bans here, and with them already now with that Diana ban starting to dabble in the junglers, it does feel like the AD carries that are at the top of the list are getting left open for this. And will they actually ban out like Lee Sin to follow up on this Diana ban here? Because otherwise it's kind of just a drop in the bucket against XU.
Yeah.
They talked about, Emily said, Graves is his most played. His highest win rate is actually the Diana, 6-1 over his career, which is significant. So a little bit of a target ban there, and some good research from Team Liquid coaching staff being shown, knowing that, we are playing against this guy that's coming straight from amateur, but some respect given with the target ban.
And I will say I'm a fan of not banning away the Lee Sin. The top 2 junglers in pro priority are Xin Zhao, Lee Sin. Those are pretty much tied as 1 and 2, and so, giving them the only S-tier pick, that kind of makes sense here. I am, by the way, a fan of Senna. I think she is very, very good. Also, a big fan of the newly buffed AP Kaisa build. Manamune Nashers gives you actually all 3 evolves by level 11 and is a pretty good look, though she's not popular right now.
Plus, it also plays into what we're seeing with a lot of the pro strategies revolving a lot around range for later in the game and the more poke style build for her. Those W's reset very quickly. Landing them has significant rewards for these late game objectives, which seems most games are circulating around.
However, she is a weak laner, and the metagame seems to be that teams are really prioritizing early laning prowess. It's why we see Caitlyn is the most banned AD carry in the game, and Jinx is the most played because Rocket Wave clears good. Aphelios, especially very early on, looks pretty good. Aphelios Lulu has really good early trading.
Yeah, we kind of went over this. The Caitlyn, Aphelios, and Jinx. Surprise, surprise. One is banned, the other 2 are picked.
Yeah.
These carries that can carry your team fights for later are so valuable, especially in these early season games, especially with a lot of the changes made in preseason. A little bit of extra safety there too with the Thresh pick for the repositioning. Very, very useful when you're facing some of the hard engage that have been floating around. I always love Trundle into Xin Zhao. This has always been my personal counter pick because it's very low mechanics required. You can slap anybody on that sucker and it's gonna work. But this is also Santorin, king of the trolls, okay?
Yeah.
His most iconic champion now, I would say, that has been attached to him. So it's both a perfect counter into Xin Zhao because Pillar is very effective against this champion. Xin has no escapes for himself. You can oftentimes even force him to blow his ultimate just for your Pillar and put him into bad positionings with the slow. Meanwhile, Santorin, very, very happy with this champion. Always focuses on objective control and rewards Team Liquid.
Alrighty, so we are on to our third mid laner band as Corki has been dropped off the table there. Victor, another obvious strong team fighting mid, and we'll see which other ways we go with LeBlanc and T, of course, already gone. Indeed, there's the Victor as we expect. And now the pool, I feel like, opens up. There feels like there's a clear top 2 and then a clear top 4, right? The S and the A tier, and then it feels like we can kind of go anywhere at this point. So we'll wait to see what the teams want to do without Diana. Yasuo seems unlikely. Akali's an interesting choice down here, and one final band to go.
I love this too, whittling further and further down on this mid lane pool because already, you know, people have started to get a little bit tired with some of the Victor Corki stuff going around, and with Twisted Fit and LeBlanc taking the bans early on in phase 1, we're already whittling down on this matchup. The Bjergsen versus Blue. You know, Blue getting so much criticism even before playing a single game over in North America, just on the announcement for the pickup. Meanwhile, Bjergsen basically the opposite with tons and tons of hype being built up here, and it does follow it up with Gangplank for top lane pick, so it won't be another one of the mid lane bans here. Still circling around. You know, Syndra is definitely up and available here. Very, very versatile. Very good versus Aphelios. If you're facing him, the long range stun is always so beneficial.
Big fan of Mordecai. I think he's a great champion. Orianna gonna be the lock-in. Wow, we're back to Bjergsen playing Orianna. It's like nothing changed over the last 3 years. He's got it locked in.
I mean, you can slap basically any mid laner. Most mid laners, the majority of professional
Bjergsen
mid
playing
laners,
Tom Kent is like nothing ever happened.
the majority of professional mid laners, I would wager, actually have Orianna as, for sure, at least a top 3 played.
Yeah.
This champion in all metas has always been at least serviceable and usually on the upper echelon of it. Will we just get, you know, a very standard matchup and have the Syndra locked in on the side of Dignitas for Blue, or are they actually going to shake it up here with something more exciting in the mid lane? This Gragas pick, once again for the top side, is a very good tank pick right now. I am currently in love with the current state of Turbo Chem Tank. This item is super good for junglers as well as for top laners. Very good engage. And if you slap the Fimble Winter on Gragas, no mana problems ever. You have plenty of sustain plus renewable shield once it transforms. Surprise, surprise, freak. There's the Syndra we're talking about. So the Syndra Orianna, a very, very standard opening game here from both these teams as far as the team comps being set up. We're going to see a lot of circulating for 5-on-5s, fights over these objectives.
Now, I did look it up. Orianna is Bjergsen's 4th most played champion. The 3 above it in Syndra, Azir, and LeBlanc have obviously more picks, higher KDAs, and higher win rates. So we actually went down the pool a little bit there. His Syndra historically has been a better pick for him. He went for the Orianna. We get Gwen up here for Bwipo. I'm excited if we get like the full wide Bwipo experience and he's taken over from the top lane. It's going to be great. I am such a huge fan of him as a player. I think he's outstanding. He's fun to interact with. Like, I'm a huge, huge Bwipo fan. He's got Gwen with last pick, likes his matchup, and I want to see it happen.
And I actually am a pretty big fan of double AP solo lanes when you have confidence in your hyper carry 80 carries in the current meta. You know, when you've got the Jinx and you've got Hansama over here for Hansama's first North American LCS game as well, having double AP solo laners I think works out just fine. They've also got the Trundle on top of it for shredding resistances on this Gragas later if they need that as well. So shouldn't have too much of a problem there. I really have to say it is going to come down to a lot of this preparation on vision and setting up for these objectives because both of these teams definitely have similar goals.
Alrighty, well, it is time for the game to begin. Champion select is done. Dignitas QNTMPAY versus Team Liquid. We are on to the Rift as we kick off Group B. Once again, for the heads up on the Team Liquid roster, they signed Bwipo and they signed Hansama in the offseason. They are obviously imports into the LCS, being Belgian and French. Core JJ, Team Liquid had hoped he would have his green card by this time to count as a North American resident, and he would be allowed on the starting roster. That has not happened yet, and to my knowledge, we do not have an ETA for that to happen. So Ayla is in. As an Australian, he is a resident of the LCS, slots in the starting roster. My understanding is we may see the duo lane flip. We may have Jan come in for Hansama at some point. Ayla will switch over for Core JJ. I don't know if it's today, I don't know if it's next week, but that is a possibility for TL down the line.
Definitely is. They're keeping their options open. As kind of mentioned earlier too, you know, Core JJ, especially with all these in-houses, has played a bunch with all the academy players too. So even if we see the other combination, they've got inbuilt synergy. Just so excited here for a lot of new arrivals, but both, you know, returning Biofrost and returning Bjergsen as well. Everybody, welcome back to the LCS.
Welcome back. I am so excited to be here casting this game. I want to see, right? Are we going to see the Burger King yet again, or, you know, just get ganked out of the blue, and it's just suddenly a bad-looking lane.
It starts
already. Fake God, identifying that top is the leash and is going to try to make the top lane freeze towards him. He might deny gold on the melee minion. It's going to be close.
I'm actually kind of disappointed in you, Freak, because you yourself have said that name puns are the lowest quality of joke that a person can make, and you start my day off with a blatant one right in the face.
Let's be clear, though. Our day started at like 10:30. You've been around me for a while already, so you know, actually 9:30, right? That's when we slotted in for testing. So clean and clear, under control, and right now bottom lane, Neo and Biofrost fighting for lane control as best they can. Guardian Lulu can help make sure you do not get one shot by an all-in from Thresh. But looks like TL have really control.
Yeah, I'm also not surprised at all that both junglers are starting on top quadrants of the map. As you can see, they're clearing top side down to bottom because Tank Gragas, especially this one, is going Grasp. Sometimes in some lanes, you can go for the more offensive lane power with the Comet to be able to have some more lane control, some more pressure. But into melee matchups, going to be stacking up that health. And he's so safe. One of the big benefits of picking Gragas right now with this tank.
Flash Q. When you flash, you pillar. There's not a good way out. They got to get back in range, though, and Blue will die. Welcome back to the LCS, baby. Bjergsen's got first blood.
Hand-fed by the Troll King himself, Santorin. This man has put so many games in on Trundle. He's so good at ganking mid lane with it, too. I feel like we could put a highlight reel of it. He doesn't have his own flash, though, to get away from the revenge coming from XU.
XU's in, smite for health, smites for the XP, but that pillar's well placed. The man's gonna live. Santorin and Bjergsen reunited back together. They won a couple of titles on TSM. Look at one on TL in the lock-in.
I love always highlighting this for Santorin, though, because he has the most potent Trundle ganks that you will see. He always goes for these early ganks, especially towards mid lane, where he flashes in for the slow for the chomp first, waits for you to flash afterwards, has the pillar, picks up the extra kill here. So first blood money going into Bjergsen's pockets, Freak. They're just setting him up for success.
And to a certain point, oh, hold on. Oh, yeah, XU's in there. That pillar, though, the Q, the W, and XU. That is a carnivore jungler. He's eating troll for lunch.
Straight out of Academy, baby. XU showing up here, punishing Santorin for that lack of flash. After the first escape around Scuttle Crab, I think it's a really intelligent call for him to go right back for the secondary invade. Yeah. You mentioned, you know, carnivore junglers and the difference there. Xin is definitely not a herbivore, does not you know, prefer the extra farming style. Definitely wants to get in there for that action, and creating invades like that, opportunities are exactly how you punish the early ganks.
Alrighty, well, we get an 11 gold lead for Dignitas. Not a huge deal, but it's obviously very close back and forth as Santorin gonna get back to his top side.
Also want to mention that what goes along with that for XU, he's the one who actually got the kill credit, so he gets the gold, plus he has the extra CS from both Scuttle Crabs and the extra Camp Steal Away, and clearing out vision around mid lane. So while it was Team Liquid who struck first with the super strong, you know, early Santorin gank, mid lane's gonna be a very contested area here as both supports on their timings roam up through.
Yep, Ayla wants to find a hook. Of course, we know a flashless Syndra is an easy gank. Target worth pointing out that Santorin put in the flash for the Q. When Blue flashed away, no one flashed to follow. It was just Pillar guaranteed the kill, so that summoner didn't even get an answer. You could argue the counter gank looked a little bit better as a result, but it's a flashless Syndra with a flash still up on Ori. That means, you know, there really is a possibility of another big play in mid, but we're 2.5 minutes through that cooldown, and we haven't found the way back in onto Blue, so a good job on him to play safely enough and maybe get a bit of coverage from XU. Obviously, the kill on Trundle's going to do a bit for that one. They had some trinkets that spotted the Raptor camp, and so far, no re-kill, but we're heading topside. Whippo is level 5, and Fake God's in for more crowd control, and here we go. Ghost Pop trying to do as best he can, get as much steal as possible. When does the rest of the spells come across? And yeah, cannot find the knockup. Whipple's move speed is high. Knockup in a W. 2 more shots, so kill him. Dashes back in, and Fake God body slams to the kill. Traded back though by Santorin. The junglers trading blows.
I love this attitude from XU. Does not back down from a fight. Whippo trying to get aggressive, utilizing the Ghost here on Gwen for the re-engage. Goes in for the extra bit of damage, but they do chunk him down. Very low cooldown on the Ghost compared to the flash that was used by Fake God to ensure the actual counter kill. So maybe something comes of the discrepancy in cooldowns on your mobility summoners, but take another look at how it starts up. Again, as you mentioned, Carnivore jungler here. Xin trying to create the action. He goes in, perfect timing here. Whippo goes in for the trade onto Fake God, so right up and behind him. Efficient as far as his timing that he invested in it. Santorin was on Krugs though, so is able to get over here as soon as Whippo buys the time. It's here that the extra damage comes through. You know, Fake God with the barrel in, as well as Xin going for all in. Santorin does get ultied back out, so is just gonna end up at the 1-for-1. And the only real ramifications on the rest of the game that we're looking for up there is, are they gonna, you know, make any use of the shorter cooldown on the Ghost possibly there from Whippo. He already used the needle work as well as Fake God using his ultimate, but those will come back up pretty quickly as well.
Next, he went back through his jungle sweeper on to see, okay, no one saw anything for a while. We have Rift Herald spawning in just 35 seconds. This usually prompts a significant roam out of really both teams. If you get bot lane pressure, you shove the wave in, you go into fog, and it's like, all right, are we setting up for a dive? Because jungler's in fog, support's in fog. Is it a 3v2 down here? If your support leaves, you just die running through red buff. Oh no, we're going Herald, too late, we got it already, right? And that can be really tough if you have the control, if you have the vision and the lane pressure. You can kind of catch 22 your opponents based on, you know, the fact that you have a vision advantage. So we'll see if a Herald play does come through, as mid lane getting cleared back and forth, and Blue has his flashback.
Yeah, I like this stop first, where rotating jungle plus support up through mid first to ensure that your Syndra's flash fully coming back to cooldown, getting your control wars set up here as Santorin moves towards the dragon.
We've got Bjergsen walking down to the bottom side. Not going to look at a dragon play just yet. Looking to see if they can make a kill and a Neo happen. That cannot. It is an early boots too. Keep in mind, there's no lantern for safety. Trundle pillars are scary, so movement difference going to be pretty important for Phillies to stay safe. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jinx doesn't even have any. Probably did go for the free boots rune, but still doesn't have any bonus movement speed yet. And now both junglers are once again pathing towards the top side. Supports are still in the bottom lane. We'll see if Herald's going to be attacked. Right now, Whippo and Fake God going to be in a trade yet again. Grass comes off. Now an ult. For ult, knocks right back into the lane. That's going to make the trade look even better for Whippo for a little bit. Gets a lot of vamp back off, goes for the entire ulti, and has a health lead.
And that trade might be the difference in starting up this Rift Trail. Santorin going to go for the crab first. He doesn't waste his pillar on it, but he does smite. Doesn't have an extra charge ready to go either.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit,
So it's going to be the long cooldown. And then there's an already existing ward on this Herald.
And XU, though, still waiting in the brush, and yeah, I mean, turns out he's got a 900-point smite, so you can always
Bjergsen's
try.
no mana either on the Ori, and no teleport cooldown to get right back here.
Blue recalling in the brush, knows he can burn a summoner TP to his lane, to his turret, not any farther, but it's enough map control. Top is pushed in, mid gets to go, Blue doesn't stay, and so smite or not, it is going to be Herald claimed all the same.
So earlier trade by Whippo onto Fake God, pushing him in on the top side, gives them the extra support. XU and Dignitas don't want to try and force that one. Would have to give it too much there for Fake God. So nice trade from Whippo. The timing on that too, going for it as the team is transitioning up to the top side. Hit a very good E dash to reposition himself. Able to get off the extra damage and push in the wave.
And if it was pushed in as well from Bjergsen's side, Blue grabs just a bit of CS after grabbing his own buff, and we just see TL feeling a bit comfortable. They have been laning better. You've got an 18 CS lead for Hans Sama and Ayla down there. Looking really good. A large portion of the lead, honestly, for this team. And with the Herald in tow, obviously we can look at another 300 to 1,000 even, if you get the entire turret for a Rift Herald crash. So that's going to be even more in TL's pockets soon.
Certainly is. Definitely a lot of possibilities for them to work with. Bjergsen scaling quite nicely. Got the early tier stacking as well for Orianna. So wave control, able to push it out repeatedly with this constant vision clearing here from Ayla and Santorin. They retook vision coverage of that river first, then go for the neutral. Now they can reset as well afterwards, turn their sights towards the bottom side of the map where they still retain control of the control ward there in Pixel Brush. And with the Lantern here back to clear out the wave, it is Dignitas' turn to take over that river area.
Wards go down. Dragon would be a decent consolation prize, but so far Dignitas has not been able to strike for much more than the individual jungle plays, ganks and counter ganks and good moves out of XU, but none of the macro plays just yet. Just trading farm in most positions. Santorin pulls the blue far enough away that it's not an easy steal and walks Bjergsen over.
Yeah, one of the huge benefits of Trundle, if your laners have control, it is super easy to force on these neutral objectives. So much to stay in this champion, such good single target as well on those objectives. And so with the Team Liquid laners playing quite well and having that control early on, sets them up for that objective game that we prophesized from Champ Select. And here goes another Dragon. Hesitant start though, as that ward is about to expire in Pit.
Yeah. Smite not yet for the Trundle. XU does have his level 7 on both. Pillars in to start the engage. He's a slow flash forward for the Flay. XU gonna hold back, holds his flash for a bit more, but now Trundle's with a chase. Shockwave gonna land, but not for any damage as XU gets the ulti from Lulu's. Keeps cutting back, zapped in, and Bjergsen finds his second kill of the game now as that is bot lane under control. That's damage out of Hans Sama, and the Dragon will be easily claimed.
And you see exactly why Trundle is such a good pick into Xin right there. He's only maybe a couple squares out of position away from the rest of his team, and Pillar is so punishing for this champion. Immediately they get the ult out. The follow-up hook there from Ayla is true. And what are the rewards off that kill, Freak? It is first tower, plus you're gonna get the Dragon. You get the entire map. Your gold lead is out of this stratosphere here. Dragon in tow. It's just such good play here from Team Liquid and very calm. You know, only required the one little misstep there up through the river without the perfect vision, and huge punish.
Really, really well done. Identifying, yes, we can go for this one. We got the crowd control. Flash for the Flay was all Ayla needed. It kind of made everything else happen. Bjergsen stayed in range to Shockwave this and Zhao back in range for even more. And obviously, at that point, you can 4v2 tower dive. At that point, you must give up the entire thing. A full health tower will always die to a minion wave and a Rift Herald as long as you kind of play your timing right. And everything goes Team Liquid's way. Many people, well, exactly, Jad, I should say, had TL as the favorites to win lock-in, and so far, so good in their first game.
Speaking of Ayla, too, and his plays, I know Jad also shouted him out on the analyst desk, but Spawn, the Team Liquid Academy coach, also huge fan of this player, always talking about how he is definitely LCS ready. And, you know, it does suck that Core JJ can't start here in the lock-in tournament for Team Liquid, but it goes a long way having a really good replacement ready from your Academy team, having played so well. So definitely pays off already for him. I do also like the Boots of Speed purchases for Thresh, because it does allow you both the possibility of getting into position early for stuff like the Flash Flay or for those hooks, but also I really enjoy retaining that in-combat move speed as opposed to Boots of Mobility.
Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. I think it's actually really good to go for the more in-combat focused stuff. Mobies are not overrated, but you know, certainly good, but situational in some regards. So yeah, I like this option here. I'm also glad to see, by the way, cooldown boots on the Gragas top. I think you're not getting almost anything out of Merc Treads in this game. Like, yes, you take some med damage in your lane, but you can buy real tank items for that one. Just overall, this item is just really outstanding. You get teleport cooldown, you get flash cooldown, and just the amount of ability haste is also very good. So big fan of those boots. And now we've got top pressured, right? Your bot lane, you kill the turret, you got a bunch of gold. Hans Sama's up half an item, great. Move him somewhere else, demolish a different turret afterwards. Figures out where he wants to kite. Okay, that's gonna be enough down there. And we've got Fake God and Whippo in a battle yet again. Fake God, does he find a way out of this one as the ulti comes through? A body slam back for a bit more, but the ulti chase may still happen. Waits out the W, cast for the disengage. A low health bar, but surviving is Fake God.
Again though, health bar lead after health bar lead for Team Liquid. They've been able to get objectives off of less, you know, chunking them out early on. Blue gonna run for the hills, but has an easy escape to the bottom side of the map.
Oh, no harm, no foul. Sidesteps the stun, and not gonna have to burn any more flashes, so Blue just comfortably farming, but you know, 0, 1, and 0. He's keeping up in CS, but it is TL who are making all the plays in this game. They've gotten every single objective, not a kill.
It is kind of exciting too because, you know, Team Liquid made the first moves of the offseason. Steve is notorious for moving very quickly and spending lots of money to get his stars very quickly. Here's an attempt from XU, but that is so dangerous.
A bit of early damage, ults in. He's like, I am in a 1v4. I'll smite, I'll jump, I will die. Knocked off Bjergsen's crown, but turns out the man's got bodyguards. And, well, you come at the king, you best not miss. And sadly, Bjergsen's still alive. TL's up to the 4th kill and the 2nd Herald.
All right, that one, that's looking like Team Liquid have full control of the game, and not much is going to change about it. Was about to go into, you know, talking about Team Liquid though with their early announcements of their pickups, and it is cool that we do get to see, you know, Bwipo returning to top lane in this matchup. Hansama, we have very big expectations from. His performances at Worlds were extremely strong, I think, both individually as well as some of the ones playing around his team, even when they were losing games. So exciting to see where this team will go from here. Again, this was the last pick team in Dignitas for the lock-in tournament as far as the fear factor that other teams have for them, you know, approaching the early season games. But definitely some clean stuff already from Team Liquid.
I gotta say, 2-item Jinx, the wave clear feels just so effortless and
That
easy.
control word is
Yeah, it just like doesn't want to finish killing
Survivor.
it. I'm not sure why, because he has his own control word, so does know if someone's coming in for a gank in most cases, but whatever. Ward finally is dead, so we got there. Replaced or not, whatever. TL comes to roam towards mid. Get another ward down for a bit of vision, and Santorin says, all right, can I invade? No, but I can camp this brush. Biofrost goes for a ward, the ward dies, and now we gotta re-engage? No. Gonna walk away too quickly. XU cannot get into range, but now Hansama can go for some turret damage. Puts on the choppers, goes for the rocket attacks. Still gonna respect the Sinjao engage, but it is still TL with all the sieging power. Orianna has shoved in top lane, so Bjergsen gonna be back on a recall. And we get the next dragon in 20 seconds.
So while Team Liquid can be fairly, well, never mind, we've got a hook play. While they can be very confident in their current state of the map and they can play pretty cautiously, really all they have to look out for is going to be someone marking Fake God. Fake God has the most playmaking ability on Dignitas, the most possibility of trying to punish somebody for being out of position. He's got flash, he's got his turbo chem tank, but Team Liquid are taking no chances. You see them constantly rotating through, so it's a 4-1 possibility. There goes Fake God for the play.
Body slam knocks in Bjergsen. A lantern brings Jinx to safety, and Fake God needs the ulti, and the crit comes in for the kill anyway. And now look at the side lane on the bottom. It's Bwipo, he's here, and he has knocked down his countryman. Down goes Blue, and we're into the mid lane. Shelly's in for just a little bit more, and that means the turret no longer has backdoor bonus. They can chase an XU a little bit longer. That's a run to safety, a summoner heal for movement speed, a flash to get away, and the base has been cracked open. XU, 2 more shots, 1 more, not gonna find the crits, not gonna find the kill, but the inhibitor is down. Team Liquid with a 7,000 gold lead and a dead mid inhibitor.
This is a clapping freak right here. This is an absolute stomp from a Team Liquid. New roster or no, they are showing coordination as well as individual outplays. We were talking about, okay, you gotta watch Fake God. He's their only possibility of a surprise play. Crown of the Shattered Queen makes Bjergsen take almost no damage from that play. Getting knocked in has the damage reduction, and Fake God dies for it. Everybody from Team Liquid is ready to respond for that engage. To the previous point about looking and marking that person for the engage, everybody on Team Liquid, they don't really have anything else to worry about, so all eyes are turned towards the engagement. Very good punish from them when the opportunity does arise, but it's definitely head and hands here for Dignitas. Now you start hiding in brush, freak.
Yeah.
Get your control wards, get your sweepers, walk out into that brush, and hope somebody's just walking by themselves.
You hope you one-shot someone. Hey, the brush are bigger, all right? It is Ocean Rift. They've been extended. There's a bit more coverage here, more places to hide. There's a chance. The chance is not high. It's looking very Team Liquid favored.
Bounties available. So.
That's true. It is important to look for the cross maps. If I am Dignitas, I'm saying no. The actually top outer turret is a full-blown objective that we are trying to claim to claw back into this game.
The problem for them is that they don't have a single person who can do that because Gwen is queen of the side lane right now. So Bwipo just gets the push in bottom side for Gragas. Dig would have to send multiple people to try and go claim one of these outer turrets if they wanted to push him out of lane and get a side lane push for themselves. And they would probably have to give up 2-for-1 in that trade with a hard push from Team Liquid. So while bounties are a thing and trying to look for some trade, Team Liquid are in a position where they have to accept any trade deals, Freak.
Yeah, they just get everything right now. It's everything they want. The comp's getting all the goods. Top lane tier 2 is down. A nice expensive turret. More gold in the pockets. 8,000 gold lead to TL. We've got time to go until Dragon Soul. It's going to be 30 minutes and change. I'd like to see Baron happen before that ever comes down. And obviously you have the guaranteed mid pressure from the inhibitor. But is there a gank, right? If you get the zap, that could be a shotgun. That could be a kill. Able to jump through the camp. They don't burn the long cooldown. XQ does stay alive. Smites for health and just runs away from the camp the rest of the way. Whippo has found Fake God. Santorin wants in. Good sidestep on the zap, but now they have gotten back in. XQ is going to be the target. Ulti is on for a while. Cass brings in Hansama, and they delete the Frenchman. He is down, and that's going to buy some time. Shockwave hits a whole lot of nothing, maybe barely tags Fake God, but doesn't pull him into the fight. And Dignitas buys some time.
That's what you need, fighting those pigs. Hansama inside the red buff pit gets nailed with the Syndra stun. Nice little pickup there for blue for Dignitas. Be able to get a tiny bit of money back in their pockets.
Yeah.
And those are things you have to shoot for. Yeah, it doesn't mean you've made a comeback, but it does mean that's the first thing that you have to do to start a comeback.
Yeah, you may have killed one, but you have not leapfrogged back into this game. You've got to get the top lane pushed in. You've got to find a turret at some point. Keep in mind, it was only a 2-kill jinx, so the player bounty was not high. You've just kind of very slowly gotten some of that gold back, some of the XP, and you're just waiting to get the rest of your items in. But Neo needs really to get to 3 full items. I know Lord Dominic's second is very common against tankier teams. Ayla only has a little bit of armor, at least Trundle will have a fair bit, but if you have a 3rd damage item, Gale Force LDR is negative damage in like all contexts, really. Like, oh, I can pen the armor. That's nice. What's your base damage? 12? Oh, well, so you need to get to IE, right, until it's actually going to be anything useful, so it is a long road ahead for Neo.
Yeah, it's definitely a long road for all of Dignitas.
Yeah.
Especially for XQ, I feel like he's been taking his road with some weird turns off into Team Liquid territory in some of these. But they gotta keep fishing. You gotta keep reaching for the stars here. He had some very good early game plays, you know, starting this one out. Really did like his punish early on Santorin. And this game kind of reminds me of our first game yesterday. The 100 Thieves versus TSM, which we're fielding their Academy roster, of course, where you know, TSM got the level 1 first blood, but from then on it was 100 Thieves all over, controlling the entire map with the veterans. And
that's objective. Cass not going to get you much. It wasn't going to clear the wave, so this is Fake God now without a defensive tool. Going to get jumped on, and yeah! Wide Whippo, wider than a Gragas. Biofrost forced to flash. The crit won't kill him. The shield's not going to matter. But another one on the board. Neo burns someone to heal yet again to defend a different teammate who a little bit too far up, getting chased down by the Team Liquid War Machine. Now with Dragon up in 30, it might be just a run towards Baron. TL's running all topside. And they might give up the Dragon, and maybe Dignitas can go for the stab for a cross map, but without vision. Okay, now they can see Trundle. Now they know. I again would love to see Dignitas just sell everything and just rush bot side and grab a Dragon and get some money back. If they get there in time, I mean, it's still spawning in 15, but Baron, maybe a guarantee here for TL. Dignitas on the way up. Fake God will have TP in 4 seconds, but can he get there in time? Can XQ go for a steal? Will he be zoned out? It's a question. Walking it down to 900, claimed by Santorin. Team fight begins. XQ in the front line, going for a bit of time as well, but Whippo still going to fight back as he's got a Santorin there as well. 1 for 1, Shockwave on a 2, and that means a deletion. Blue is dead. He's 6 feet under, and now Neo's on the run, gets zapped, doesn't sidestep it, and that means Santorin will chase down. That was a skill shot that needed to be dodged, but it's going to be a 3-4-1. Team looking ahead to get a little bit more. Nice flash flay, the hook over the wall, lantern to the pull, and that was beautifully done by Ayla. Welcome to the LCS. Will it be enough to kill Fake God? Yes, it will, because of the hook. That was gorgeous from Ayla to make sure the game is done and dusted. Into the base they go. Team Liquid, even faster than 100 Thieves did it in their opener. TL crushed the opposition. Down go Dignitas, and a 1-0 start to lock it for Team Liquid.
all right. First game there on stage for Ayla, and I don't think you can ask for any more. Team Liquid, utter domination. The Nexus still isn't dead yet, Freak.
Yeah, but it's gonna. I can see the future. I feel like I'm the LEC broadcast, know what's gonna happen, and there we go. 11-4 in kills, victory on the board. And TL not skipping a beat. Whippo had pressure on his side lane on a scaling champion. Already was looking good in the solo lane. Santorum back to his ways of he will sell his summoners for a gank for a homie. He's like, welcome back. We're together again. Bjergsen gets him first blood at level 3 and kind of never leaves up from there.
Honestly, yeah, very, very clean stuff there from Team Liquid. Dignitas have a long road ahead from them.
Yep.
They've already been the last pick in dodgeball here in lock-in tournament, and Team Liquid look like absolute stomp in this one.
Yeah, and this is somewhat to be expected. I mean, this is, once again, ostensibly going to be the starting roster for TL. Again, it's this or switching both bot laners out, which I think is going to give a pretty similar power level, though this does look really good in this version.
Tell me which one that was, Core JJ or Ayla?
Yeah, right.
What would have been different?
Nameplates off, I couldn't tell you. It looked really, really good. Very well played from the bottom lane here as well. Of course, we'll see their test against EG is game 3. That one's going to be really spicy, so you get a stronger test for sure.
Only 2 games.
I know. It's in about an hour and a half. You know, we're going to see that EG TL one. That'll be fun. Of course, we're going to see the other rosters today as well. All of Group B will play 2 games, so we get our look at everybody. I'm excited for the new CLG. Like, they've reset the entire roster here. So from the like Madison Square Garden CLG gaming GM down, everyone is new. It is like an entirely new org. So if you got a bad taste in your mouth from old CLG, don't worry, that's going to change up. I'm just excited.
They washed it right out.
I'm excited for all of these teams this year, though. Like, I'm big up on Immortals here as well. I think they're going to look really fun. There's just a lot to look forward to.
Certainly is. Definitely exciting. We'll see as we get towards our second game here. It is been hyped up as like academy superstars as far as the rebuild for CLG.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, as you're saying, they cleaned house management and all that as well.
Mhm.
But I'm just super excited to see these combinations come to fruition because, you know, Pal Fox did have the chance on FlyQuest and it didn't quite hit there. But I think the hype was deserved, you know, coming into it and having contracts come back into the league, working so hard, putting so much time in there on EG, climbing back up the ranks. It'll be exciting to see them get another shot.
I agree. It's a lot of exciting teams here. I mean, this to me is the sort of more competitive group. Once we saw that Cloud9, half the roster was going to be subbed out and TSM was on the full academy side, it's like, okay, like, you know, suddenly it's like, oh, well, it's clearly 100 Thieves, you know, crushing that group, and that's what it looked like so far. I expect them to do really well when they face Cloud9 later, but this is the group that's really spicy to me, where, like, there's a lot that can go on. There's a lot of rosters where I'm like, this could be pretty good. So it's going to be fun. We got a whole 4 more hours of fun action here today. After an incredible LCS debut, we are joining Tigris and Ayla for our Verizon post-game interview. After that, Team Liquid Dub, we're heading to the State Farm Analyst Desk to break it all down.
It's starting.
Incredible indeed, Ayla. Welcome to the LCS, the Team Liquid support joining us here in the Verizon post-game interview. I just want to get your raw reaction right here off the bat. What were you feeling during this first game?
Honestly, I was pretty nervous for my LCS debut, so yeah, I'm really happy we won. I think my team played really well and like helped me out because it was my first game, so big props to my teammates, but I'm really happy and honestly, I'm surprised I'm being interviewed because my team has so many big name players, but it's an honor to be here.
Well, you had so many fans in Academy throughout your year of play last year for Team Liquid Academy. They're all excited to hear from you in this interview as well. An outstanding individual play to close things out. I know that it must also be big shoes to fill to come in for Core JJ, but I know you're close too. So what is that like, taking everything that you have learned the past year working with him and now implementing it here in Lock-In?
Yeah, I see it personally as a challenge because it's not easy to take the step from Academy to being like one of the top LCS teams. So obviously people rate Team Liquid, like their full roster, as like being one of the contenders, maybe even first place. So yeah, it's honestly like very big shoes for me to fill, but I have a lot of confidence in myself that I am ready for LCS. So yeah, I'm just here to prove that and like feel cautious in the meantime, and hopefully, don't make it too much of a problem so that when he comes back, everything is going well.
Confidence is key, and you mentioned playing alongside all of these big names that now reside on the TL roster. We've known there to be a lot of collaboration between the LCS and Academy rosters in the past, but there's been so much shifting around. What has it been like getting to know these new teammates in your preparation?
Really fun, to be honest. I think I was like really astounded by the personalities of the people that I play with, because I grew up watching a lot of these players, so like Bjerg especially. I watched him a lot when I was growing up. I watched Hans and Brupper at Worlds, so it's crazy. I think Han's a really fun guy, so I'm really happy to play with him. He's really fun to work with. He's like very bot lane focused and dominant, so I'm learning a lot of things. He's always like telling me like, "Hey, yeah, come bot, like stay and help me. Let's try to kill them." So yeah, it's really fun, and it's a new playstyle that I'm trying to learn right now.
And I think we're all just as excited as you are to see you playing alongside them, see this development coming through. You're going to be playing against Evil Geniuses later. This is a very anticipated matchup. Obviously, you have some familiarity with those players as well. What are your thoughts on that upcoming game?
Maybe this hasn't been announced yet. I don't know. I won't be playing for EG against EG. I mean, we will be using Kornyon. So well, I would like to pretend I am. I'm not. So hopefully it goes well for them. It's gonna be Yon's debut in LCS as well. So I'm sure he's gonna be very nervous, but hopefully he does well.
Debuts galore here in the LCS. Ayla, congratulations on your first LCS victory, and thank you for stopping by for this interview.
Thank you very much.
We've got more to break down in this game, though, so let's send things on over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much.
Amazing interview.
Thank you so much, the Tigers. I know it is only day 2 of the season, but
Beautiful.
that is
That
a
was so
benchmark
good.
for best interview right there of the year. That one's going to be tough. It had everything. It had
Yeah.
everything. It was adorable to begin with.
It had
right?
the screen sneak
The
in from the
moving
back.
backdrop.
The
Yeah.
ninja screen, you know,
The
branded screen.
leaking the
putting it
roster
back.
changes.
Leaking the roster.
Just to carry on
That
the
was
top.
great.
I mean, absolutely everything about that was phenomenal. His performance as well, though, phenomenal. And I actually, before we get into Champion Select, I do just want to kind of re-hit that idea that the casters talked about themselves. Like, you remove nameplates, and that could have been Core JJ, right? And so what a way for him to step out onto the LCS stage day 1.
Yeah, and you can see there's a lot of things to talk about at the start of the year for this Team Liquid team because
Yes.
we spent so much time on Ayla. We haven't mentioned Bwipo.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
No, he's completely new to the region. He's completely new to the team.
Going back to
Bjergsen
top.
He's going back to top later, yeah.
Like there's a lot of things you could possibly cover, but I really love that Ayla got the spotlight in that instance.
Let's jump into Champion Select tier. We have the return of Bjergsen. He gets pushed on to the Orianna with a couple of those mid lane bans coming out. An absolute comfort pick for him, Raz, and he did deliver on it.
Exactly. I mean, even hearing the interview from Fudge just yesterday, it's like, hey, if you're just a little rusty coming back into it, for Fudge it was Victor, Orianna for Bjergsen, right?
Boom.
Easy. And of course, the lane state for him was perfect. Just talking about specifically this draft, the comp, I loved it, right? It's pretty much a straight front to back composition, Trundle and Thresh being the main picks. But like talking about the early laning phase there, Emma.
Yeah, so this is a gank where we've seen Santorin do so many times with Jensen, right? And I love the Trundle pick into the Sinjao. It's something, again, not only is Trundle a comfort pick for Santorin, but something we see him pick up and play specifically into the Jhin because of Pillar. And I really liked all the early map moves from both teams, actually.
Yeah, I think Santorin's early gank was good, but then he kind of made the cardinal sin of going back into River after
Yup.
showing that you started 3-camp topside. So it was properly punished by XU, and I think XU's first like 6 or 7 minutes were pretty strong in terms of where he needed to be.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. If you're debuting into the LCS straight from amateur, just go with straight confidence. Like play on fully with what you've learned on your journey there. So I didn't even notice that he was nervous, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously this play was kind of where it opened up for TL, right? This is kind of where they took over the game
Where
after
the gold
that.
went.
But I did like, just because people who I talked to about XU with said that one of his things was how well is he going to communicate with lanes? Does he know where to be?
Yeah.
And I did think, like Jat said, for the first little bit of the game, he was tracking Santorin really well.
Yeah, and that point of the game that you were just talking about, you know, credit to Ayla there, because XU for sure thought he had pressure through bot lane that they can play through bot and then try and contest for dragon. Lulu didn't want to step up to a threat hook. Aphelios for sure didn't want to do that. So then the target was XU, and they did it perfectly there.
I mean, a lot of control out of Team Liquid. Again, not a game without mistakes for XU, and that will be abused by veteran players like Santorin, Bjergsen, Bwipo, the likes. And from there, a quick close, 25-minute game. We were talking yesterday how a 26.5-minute victory out of 100 Thieves was something to be feared, and already Team Liquid has one-upped them by doing it a minute and a half faster.
They look sharp. They looked a lot like 100 Thieves did yesterday. And I do have to say, Dash, like there's only one team that's ever won lock-in.
You're right.
There you go.
God.
So who's to say they won't win it again?
There's only ever
The
been-
only
there's
lock-in
there's- I was
champion.
gonna say there's only ever been one lock-in championship coach too. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
now that
Cole,
you're not out
he's
there.
still on team.
A great start for Team Liquid. We already had it revealed that it looks like they'll be hitting the stage with a different roster there in game number 3 against Evil Geniuses. But before we get to that game 3, we got to go through game number 2. That's CLG and Immortals is coming up next. We'll be back here to preface that matchup in just a few. See you soon.
What's going on?
Jake from State Farm, the perp just confessed. I think. I don't know.
What?
Oh, can't afford streaming anymore, so here we are.
Oh, don't give up what you love. State Farm has options to personalize your policy so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Oh, that's great. The subtitles would be nice.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.